Yesterday morning, my son Ryan called me. His voice cracked with panic. Mom, why are all the cards declined? Dana and I couldn't even pay for lunch at the restaurant. People were laughing at us. I listened quietly. Inside, a strange feeling grew, a satisfaction I never thought I would feel toward my own child. To understand why I felt that way, I have to tell you what happened the night before. I'm Georgia. I'm 68 years old. I've been a widow for many years. Since my husband passed away, I became the personal ATM for my son Ryan and his wife Dana. Every whim, every craving, every sudden emergency, it all came out of my savings. For 10 long years, I kept helping. When Ryan lost his job, I paid his rent, 8 whole months at $800 each. When Dana decided she needed a new wardrobe for work, I put $3,000 on my credit card. When they wanted a romantic vacation to Hawaii because they were stressed, I sent them another $5,000. They never invited me. Ryan would just say, Mom, you understand, right? It's a romantic trip. And I always understood. Or at least I thought I did. The worst came 3 months ago. Dana smiled sweetly and said, Georgia, the car is too old. And if we're going to have kids soon, we need something safer. A new car. A $15,000 down payment. That was 2 years of my careful savings gone in an instant. But I paid because I thought that's what good mothers do. I told myself it was love. I told myself family always helps each other. But I was blind. Everything changed one simple afternoon. It was yesterday. I was in my own living room, serving coffee to Dana and her friends. They were laughing, chatting, showing off new handbags. I smiled politely and tried to be a good host. Then Dana looked at her friends, grinned, and said the words that shattered something inside me. That old woman? She's only good for paying our bills. Everyone laughed, including my son. Ryan didn't defend me. He didn't stop her. He didn't even look ashamed. He laughed. My own son laughed while his wife mocked me in my own home. I stood there, coffee pot in hand, frozen. My hands trembled, but it wasn't sadness this time. It was rage, cold, sharp, and clear. In that moment, I realized the truth. To them, I wasn't a mother. I wasn't a person. I was just a bank account with legs. That night, I couldn't sleep. My heart wasn't breaking anymore. It was waking up. For years, I had ignored the quiet voice telling me I was being used. Now it was roaring. At 3 a.m., I got out of bed and turned on my computer. Enough was enough. First, I canceled every extra credit card I had given them, all 5 of them. Then I closed the shared savings account where I had been putting money for emergencies, which always turned into expensive dinners and designer clothes. I changed the passwords to my bank accounts. I removed their names from every automatic transfer. By 6 a.m., it was done. For the first time in years, I felt peace, real peace. I made myself a coffee and sat in my favorite armchair. The sun rose quietly. I knew what was coming, the phone calls, the panic, the anger, but I felt strong. At exactly 9:15 a.m., the phone rang. Ryan's name lit up the screen. I didn't answer right away. I let it ring and ring. For once, I held the power. Finally, I picked up. Mom, why are all the cards declined? We're at the Crest View Grill with Dana's mother. None of the cards work. People are staring. The waiter's impatient. I don't have cash for this $200 bill. What's going on? I pictured it, the fancy restaurant they loved, the place they never invited me to, but I paid for more times than I could count. The high society they wanted to impress, now watching them panic. I sipped my coffee and said, calm and firm, the cards are canceled, Ryan. I'm not going to finance your lifestyle anymore. What? Are you crazy? We're in public. Dana's mother is here. How am I supposed to explain that my own mom left me stranded? What's crazy, I said slowly, was hearing you laugh yesterday when your wife called me only good for paying bills. What's crazy is letting this go on for 10 years. Silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. I could hear voices in the background, Dana whispering, the clatter of dishes, the tension. Mom, please, don't do this right now. Just for today. Reactivate the cards and we'll talk later. No, Ryan. No more just for today. For 10 years, I've heard that promise. You don't respect me. You don't value me. And you don't love me the way I've loved you. That's not true. Dana was joking. You know how she is. I know exactly how she is. And I know exactly how you are. I could hear him breathing hard. I imagined Dana's mother watching, confused. The waiter probably hovering, check in hand. Ryan desperate to save face. Mom, please. We can't just sit here. What do you want us to do? Wash dishes? This is humiliating. Now you know how I felt for years, I said. You're 35. Solve your own problems. Are you sick? Are you okay? This isn't like you, Mom. You've never been this cruel. Cruel? The word cut deep. Cruel was working until 65 so he could live well while I ate beans. Cruel was being mocked in my own living room. Cruel was being invisible except when you needed money. No, Ryan. This isn't cruelty. This is respect for myself. Mom, please. People are watching. This is going to be all over social media. We'll look ridiculous. And that's what worries you, isn't it? Your image, not how you've treated me. Mom, he started. I'm done, Ryan. And I hung up. My hands shook not with fear, but with adrenaline, with power. The phone rang again and again. Ryan. Dana. Unknown numbers. I didn't answer. For the first time in years, the silence felt good. It felt like freedom. I made another cup of coffee and walked to the patio. The morning air felt fresh, new. For the first time in a decade, I had said no. But peace doesn't last long when you've finally broken free from people who've built their comfort on you. At 11 a.m., I heard a car pull into my driveway. Doors slammed. Footsteps rushed to my front door. Then loud, angry knocking. Mom, open the door. We need to talk. Ryan's voice sounded desperate and furious. I stayed quiet, hidden from view. Then Dana's voice joined in, sharp and demanding. Georgia, stop acting like a child and come out right now. They pounded harder. My door shook under their fists and feet. My beautiful oak door, the one my late husband had chosen, now a target for their anger. You made us look like beggars, Dana screamed. Ryan's mother-in-law had to pay for our lunch because you're acting crazy. Everyone is talking about us. Their voices grew louder. Their desperation turned to anger. I stayed still, silent, calm. But as I listened to them shouting on my doorstep, I felt something shift deep inside me. Something powerful. Something dangerous. Because this time, I wasn't scared. This time, I wasn't giving in. And I knew they weren't going to stop easily. They weren't going to stop easily. I could hear it in the way Dana's fist slammed against my door and Ryan's frustrated groans. They weren't used to hearing no from me. For 10 years, I had been their safety net, their endless source of comfort and cash. Now, for the first time, I had pulled that net away and they were panicking. Georgia, Dana yelled, her voice switching from anger to a fake sweetness in a single breath. We know you're upset, and you have every right to be. But please, let's talk. We're family. I stayed silent on the back patio, hidden behind the thick curtains. Birds chirped at the feeder while my son and his wife shouted at my front door. It felt almost poetic, the quiet life I wanted finally standing up to the chaos I had allowed for so long. The knocking grew louder. I could hear Ryan kicking the bottom of the door now. Mom, you're making this worse. You embarrassed us at the restaurant and now you're hiding? This isn't you. No, I thought quietly. This isn't the old me. The old me would have opened the door, listened to excuses, and handed over another check to fix whatever they had ruined. The new me, the me that woke up last night, was finished with that. Georgia! Dana's voice turned sharp again, frustrated that her gentle act hadn't worked. Stop acting like a coward. That word coward hit the air like a slap. For a second, anger flashed through me, but then something surprising happened. I smiled. because for the first time in years, I wasn't the coward. I was finally standing up for myself. I stood slowly and walked toward the side window where I had seen their shadows moving. Carefully, I pulled the curtain back just enough for Dana to see me. Our eyes met. Her expression shifted instantly, fury melting into fake relief, then into a sugary smile. "There you are," she said brightly, as if nothing had happened. "Come on, let's open the door and talk like a family." I held her gaze for a long moment. Then, without a word, I closed the curtain again. Her shriek of frustration rang out immediately. "Are you serious? Georgia, this is ridiculous." They pounded for a few more minutes. Then their voices dropped to angry whispers outside, too low for me to make out every word, but I caught pieces. "She's losing it. Can't just cut us off. Figure out another way." The phrase made my stomach tighten. I knew Dana, she didn't give up easily when it came to money. Ryan might pout and complain, but Dana strategized. She had learned long ago how to manipulate me with guilt, shame, and fear. If she couldn't break me today, she'd try another tactic tomorrow. Finally, I heard the car door slam. The engine roared to life. They were leaving. The silence afterward was glorious. I sank into my patio chair and let the warm sun wash over me. My hands trembled slightly, but not from fear, from adrenaline. I had survived my first real standoff with them. I had said no, and the world hadn't ended. But I knew this was just the beginning. The rest of the day was quiet, but my phone was not. Calls poured in. Ryan, Dana, unknown numbers I suspected were friends or relatives. I let them all go to voicemail. Each ignored call felt like a tiny victory. That afternoon, I listened to the messages one by one, curious about their next moves. Ryan's first message was angry. "Mom, this isn't funny. You're making a scene. Call me back." The second one was softer, desperate. "Mom, please, we can't pay the insurance. We have bills. Just help one more time. We promise we'll pay you back." Dana's message came next, dramatic and tearful. "Georgia, I didn't mean what I said. I was joking. You know how we joke around. Please don't ruin the family over this." Then there were other voices. Dana's mother, polite but firm, saying we should talk like civilized adults. My sister Elaine, calling from another state, Georgia. "What's going on? Ryan says you've cut them off without warning. Are you okay? You've always been so generous." Generous. That word, once a badge of pride, now felt heavy. Generous had become foolish. Generous had turned me invisible. I deleted most of the messages. I needed quiet to think. That evening, I pulled out a dusty box of bank statements. Years of receipts and records. I started adding up what I had spent on Ryan and Dana. My pen scratched across paper as the numbers grew sickeningly large. 8 months of rent, $6,400. Dana's wardrobe, $3,000. Hawaii vacation, $5,000. The car down payment, $15,000. Restaurant bills, streaming services, surprise charges, too many to count. In just the last 5 years alone, the total reached $86,000. $86,000. More than half my total pension. And what had I received in return? Mockery, disrespect, loneliness. My chest tightened, but not with grief this time, with clarity. I saw the pattern clearly now. A cycle. Ryan and Dana had a crisis. I resisted. They applied guilt and fear. I gave in. They solved nothing. Then another crisis came. I had been financing a lifestyle they could not afford while I quietly sacrificed my own comfort. And yesterday, after all that, they laughed at me. I closed the ledger and took a deep breath. Enough. If I was going to protect myself, I needed more than just canceled cards. I needed to secure my future legally. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Mr. Coleman, the man who had drafted my will years ago, when I still believed I was safeguarding a grateful son's future. "Mrs. Whitlock," his secretary said kindly, "Mr. Coleman can see you this afternoon at 2 p.m. Perfect. I also called the bank and scheduled a meeting with the branch manager to review my accounts. I wanted every link Ryan had to my finances severed. While making breakfast, I plugged the house phone back in. 14 new messages filled the machine. I ignored most of them until one caught my ear. A deep male voice I didn't know. Mrs. Whitlock, this is Oscar, Dana's cousin's husband. Listen, Dana's really worried about you. She says you're acting strangely. As a man, I think sometimes women complicate things. Why don't you just forgive and forget? Family is what matters. I actually laughed out loud. Forgive and forget. Convenient words when someone else is benefiting. No, not this time. At 2 p.m., I sat across from Mr. Coleman in his office. He listened quietly as I explained everything, the years of financial dependence, the humiliation, the laughter, the threats. When I finished, he nodded slowly. Mrs. Whitlock, I'm not surprised. We see this more than you might think. You've done the right thing by protecting yourself. I handed him my current will. Ryan is the sole heir. I want to change that. His eyebrows rose slightly. To what? 50% to charities that help people who truly need it. 30% to my sister Elaine. She's never asked me for a dime. And only 20% to Ryan, but with a condition. What condition? That he can only claim it if he shows a full year of financial independence. No help from me, no shared accounts, nothing. Mr. Coleman smiled faintly. That's both legal and wise. You're encouraging responsibility instead of rewarding dependency. I left his office feeling lighter. For the first time in years, my future wasn't chained to Ryan's entitlement. On my way home, I stopped at a small restaurant I had always wanted to try but never felt I could afford. I ordered the most expensive dish on the menu, a glass of wine, dessert. The bill was $45, less than what Ryan and Dana spent on drinks during one night out. I paid it happily. For once, I was spending on myself. As I drove back, a new feeling spread through me, not guilt, not fear, but something I hadn't felt in decades, freedom. But freedom comes with a price, and I knew they wouldn't let go so easily. When I got home, an unfamiliar car was in my driveway. An older, elegantly dressed woman waited on my porch, Dana's mother, Claudia. Georgia, she said with a forced smile as I approached. I'm glad you're here. We need to have a woman-to-woman talk. I invited her inside more out of curiosity than politeness. I wanted to hear what version of events Dana had fed her. Claudia wasted no time. Look, dear, I know there was a misunderstanding yesterday. Dana told me everything, and frankly, I think you're overreacting. Canceling your own son's cards over a little joke, isn't that too extreme? A little joke? I asked quietly. Well, yes, she continued, shifting in her seat. Dana said something silly and you misunderstood. Families tease. But cutting them off like this? It's harsh. I leaned forward. Claudia, do you pay your adult daughter's rent? No, but do you give her unlimited credit cards? Well, no, but do you finance her vacations while you stay home alone? Claudia flushed. That's different. Exactly, I said calmly. And I've decided to be different too. Her smile faltered. But think of Dana and Ryan. They're young. They're building their future. They need support. They're 35 and 32. At that age, I was raising a son, paying my own bills, and saving for retirement. Times are different, yes, easier now. There's no excuse. Claudia tried another tactic. Guilt. Dana was crying all night. She says she's always seen you as a second mother. You're hurting her. A second mother who's only good for paying bills? Those were her words. That was just women talking. Humiliating someone in front of guests isn't just talk. The polite mask slipped. Claudia's voice hardened. Georgia, I'll be honest. Dana and Ryan are considering legal action. If you keep acting erratically with finances, there are ways to have someone declared mentally incompetent. It's to protect the family. There it was, the threat behind all the sweet talk. I stood, calm but cold. Claudia, you should get a good lawyer. I just came from mine. He assured me that protecting your finances from abuse is a sign of competence, not the opposite. Her face paled. I didn't mean... Yes, you did, I interrupted. And now that I know what you're really planning, this conversation is over. I walked her to the door. She tried one last guilt trip. A family war helps no one. There's no war, I said quietly. There's just a woman finally valuing herself. I shut the door. My heart raced, but not with fear, with resolve. Claudia's threat had been clear. If they couldn't guilt me, they'd try to take my freedom by force. That night, I couldn't sleep, but it wasn't worry keeping me awake. It was determination. They wanted to scare me, but I wasn't going to be scared. I was going to be ready. Because if Ryan and Dana really tried to use the law to steal my choices, I would meet them with something they had never expected from me before. Strength. And I had already made my next move. Strength. That single word kept echoing in my head long after Claudia's car disappeared down the street. For years, I had been afraid of upsetting my son, afraid of making the family angry, afraid of being alone. But that night, something shifted forever. I wasn't weak anymore. I wasn't just a wallet with legs. I was a woman protecting her life. I barely slept, but it wasn't exhaustion. It was adrenaline. My mind was sharp, clearer than it had been in years. Claudia thought she could scare me with legal threats, that if they couldn't guilt me, they'd label me unstable. I decided right then, if they tried to come after my rights, they would fail. I was going to make sure of it. The next morning, I followed Mr. Coleman's advice. First, I scheduled a full psychological evaluation at a respected private clinic. If anyone ever tried to question my mental capacity, I'd have ironclad proof of my competence. The doctor, a calm woman in her 50s, spent hours with me. We talked about my life, my finances, my choices. She asked detailed questions and gave me small memory and reasoning tests. When we finished, she smiled kindly. Mrs. Whitlock, let me be perfectly clear. You are completely mentally sound. In fact, you are showing excellent judgment by setting boundaries and protecting your assets. I'll issue a full written report certifying your competence. I left the clinic with the official papers tucked into my bag, stamped, dated, signed. My invisible armor. Next, I went to the bank again. The branch manager recognized me immediately. Back so soon, Mrs. Whitlock? Yes, I said firmly. I need every account secured. No shared access. No secondary names. No way for anyone to request information but me. He nodded, typing quickly. You're wise to be proactive. Sadly, it's more common than people realize for adult children to exploit parents financially. Hearing those words felt strange. For so long, I'd blamed myself. Maybe I hadn't raised Ryan right. Maybe I was too soft. But here was a professional telling me this happens to many good parents, and it wasn't my fault. By the time I left the bank, my accounts were fully locked down. Two-factor authentication, alerts for unusual activity, no more linked cards, no way for anyone to request balances. For the first time, my money truly belonged to me. As I drove home, I passed by my neighbor Lucy's garden. She waved and hurried over, wiping her hands on her jeans. Georgia, are you okay? Yesterday, an older woman came by asking about you. I think it was that Dana's mother. She wanted to know if you'd been acting strangely. I laughed softly. Strangely? No, Lucy. I'm finally acting like myself. Lucy's eyes widened when I told her about Claudia's visit and her veiled threat to have me declared incompetent. That's outrageous, Lucy said, anger flashing across her face. Trying to steal your independence because you stopped paying their bills? Georgia, that's abuse. It is, I admitted quietly. And I'm done letting it happen. Lucy reached over and squeezed my hand. Good for you. And you know what? You need to celebrate this freedom. Do something just for you. I hesitated. It's been so long since I've done anything just for me. Lucy grinned. Then it's time. I actually have an idea. My sister was supposed to go on a 5-day cruise with me next week, but she had to cancel. Why don't you come instead? A cruise. The word felt unreal. For decades, I'd funded everyone else's vacations while staying home alone. The idea of traveling for pure pleasure felt almost forbidden. I'd love to, I heard myself say. Lucy smiled wide. Great. It's all inclusive, $1,500 for 5 days. You deserve this. $1,500. I had given Dana triple that amount for a single shopping spree. Suddenly, spending that on myself didn't feel wasteful. It felt just. That afternoon, we booked the tickets. For the first time in years, I was planning a trip that was only for me. 2 days later, on Sunday morning, the doorbell rang. I peeked through the curtain. Ryan stood alone on the porch. He looked different, tired, rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. I debated ignoring him, but curiosity won. I opened the door just a crack. "Mom," he said quietly, "please, can we talk? Just you and me." No Dana. No shouting. I studied him for a moment, then opened the door fully but kept my posture calm, distant. "Come in." He stepped inside slowly, like a boy entering the principal's office. For once, he didn't look entitled. He looked scared. "Mom," he began, voice breaking, "I'm desperate. The car insurance is due tomorrow, $250. If I don't pay it, I can't drive to work." I stayed silent, waiting. "I know you don't want to help us anymore, but I'm asking this one time. How much did you earn last month?" I interrupted. He blinked. "Oh, $3,500. And how much is your rent?" $1, $200. Food? Utilities. He shifted, uncomfortable. About $1,000? Maybe more. Restaurants? He looked down. I don't know. Streaming services? Gym? Food delivery? Mom, those are just normal things. Normal. Or luxuries. He frowned. It's not that simple. It is. If you can't afford $250 for insurance, something's wrong with your budget. He looked almost offended. You don't understand, Mom. Life is expensive. No, Ryan, I said gently but firmly. A life you can't afford is expensive. For the first time, he had no answer. Have you ever made a real budget? I asked quietly. Have you ever tried living just on your salary, cutting back, moving somewhere cheaper, saying no to extras? Silence. Have you ever thought about how I managed to help you while living on a fixed pension? His eyes filled with tears. I thought you liked helping. I thought it was love. It was love, I said softly. But you turned my love into an obligation. You turned my generosity into an expectation. And when Dana mocked me and you laughed, you turned my sacrifice into a joke. He looked crushed. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Mom? I didn't realize. I know, I said. You weren't supposed to exploit me, but you did. And now you need to grow up. He sat there, silent and shaking. Finally, he whispered, What can I do to fix this? You can start by paying your own car insurance, I replied calmly. He nodded slowly, wiping his face. Okay. For nearly an hour, we sat in quiet. He didn't argue, didn't beg again. I could see him thinking, really thinking, maybe for the first time in his adult life. When he finally stood, he said quietly, I'll figure it out, Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't know if I could trust his change yet, but it was a start. The next day, while I was packing for my cruise, an unexpected call came. Dana. Georgia, she said, her voice surprisingly calm. I know things have been tense. Could we meet for coffee? Just us. No Ryan? No drama? I hesitated, but curiosity pushed me to agree. We met at a small cafe near the mall. Dana arrived looking different, no flashy jewelry, no designer bag. She looked tired. Human. Georgia, she began, I want to apologize for what I said. It was cruel and wrong. I sipped my coffee, waiting. What made you decide that? She sighed. Honestly, the humiliation at the restaurant. In these last few days, Ryan and I had to face our finances without your help. We discovered something terrifying. What? that we spend almost double what we earn. Double, Georgia. And you covered the gap for years. For the first time, Dana sounded truly humbled. We've made a real budget now. We're moving to a cheaper apartment, $400 less per month. We're canceling memberships. I even found a part-time job on weekends. I raised my eyebrows. Dana working extra? That was new. She looked ashamed. When did you start resenting our dependence? It built slowly, I said honestly. But it turned to anger when you stopped asking, when my help became expected, when I became invisible except for money. Dana swallowed hard. You're right. We stopped seeing you as a person. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she asked almost shyly, is there any way to rebuild our relationship? The old one is gone, I said simply. That one was built on me giving and you taking. A new one could exist, but only on respect and independence. So you'll never help us again? I'll help if there's a true emergency and if you've proven you can live within your means. But I'll never be your safety net again. Dana nodded slowly, absorbing the words. It's scary, she admitted quietly. I don't know if we know how to live like that. Then it's time to learn, I said gently. You're adults. Start acting like it. For a long time, we sat in silence. Then Dana said something that surprised me. I always thought being an adult just meant being old enough, but I'm learning it means taking responsibility. We've been pretending. You are doing the hard part for us. Her honesty touched me. I didn't forgive everything in that moment, but for the first time, I felt hope that change might be possible. 2 days later, a text from Ryan lit up my phone. Mom, I got a personal loan to pay the car insurance. We also found a cheaper apartment. We're moving next month. Just wanted you to know. It wasn't everything, but it was something. I smiled. Then I zipped my suitcase for the cruise. The cruise was like stepping into a new life. 5 days of freedom, no calls asking for money, no guilt, no anxiety. I slept late, ate wonderful meals, joined activities just for fun. Lucy was the perfect companion, independent, funny, kind. We met other women who shared similar stories. One had lost her retirement savings to her adult children. Another had discovered her son secretly used her credit card to gamble. I thought I was the only one woman said as we watched the sunset on the ship's deck. So did I admitted. But maybe we're part of a quiet army, mothers finally saying no. We laughed, but there was strength in that laughter. When I came home Sunday evening, I felt renewed. My answering machine was full, but not with desperate demands. Ryan had called twice just to check if I'd arrived safely. Dana left a short message, hope you enjoyed your cruise. We'd love to hear about it sometime. That small change, respect, not expectation, felt huge. Monday morning, Lucy came over with coffee and pastries. We sat on the patio talking about the trip. For the first time in years, I felt light. Then Ryan's car pulled into the driveway. But this time, he didn't storm out. He sat inside for several minutes, like he was gathering courage. When he finally came to the door, he looked nervous, but different. Older somehow. Mom, he said softly when I opened the door, can we talk? I nodded and stepped aside. He took a deep breath. Dana and I moved into the smaller apartment. It's cheaper, and it's been an adjustment. But you know what? I sleep better. I'm not scared about money every night. I didn't realize how heavy it felt living on borrowed funds. I stayed quiet, letting him speak. We also canceled the expensive gym and signed up for a basic one. Dana's working weekends now. She says she wants to help build our future instead of just spending. I was quietly impressed. I hadn't expected such fast action. Ryan looked at me, eyes full of something I hadn't seen in years, humility. Mom, I'm sorry. For all of it. For treating you like an ATM. For laughing that day. I didn't know how much I was hurting you. What made you finally see it? I asked. He smiled sadly. Making a real budget. Realizing our life was fake, built on your money. I thought I was a man providing for my family, but I wasn't. I was a child living off you. His voice cracked. For the first time, I feel like an adult. It's terrifying, but also freeing. Something inside me softened. That's what I wanted for you all along, Ryan. Independence. He swallowed hard. Mom, I know I have no right to ask this, but can we ever have a normal relationship where I'm your son who visits because he loves you, not because he needs something? I felt tears prick my eyes. Yes, that relationship can start right now. Ryan exhaled, relieved. Dana and we want to come on Sunday. We'll bring the food. We'll cook. Just spend time together. I smiled for real. I'd love that. For the first time in years, hope flickered between us, fragile but real. That night, as I sat on the patio under the stars, I called Mr. Coleman. I want to adjust the will again, I told him. Oh? He said with gentle surprise. I want to reward maturity, but not enable dependency. If Ryan proves financial independence for 2 years, he can inherit more. If he keeps it up for 5, he can inherit even more. But if he goes back to old habits, the original plan stands. Mr. Coleman chuckled softly. A tiered will, smart and fair. It gives hope but protects you. For the first time in years, I was planning my future with hope, not fear. Hope that my son was growing. Hope that we might rebuild respect. Hope that my final years would be lived on my terms. I leaned back, gazing at the stars above my quiet, peaceful home. For decades, I gave everything to others. Finally, I was giving something to myself, dignity. But even as peace settled over me, I couldn't shake one truth. Dana was clever. She had gone quiet, but quiet doesn't always mean surrender. Sometimes it means strategy. And something in my gut told me this story with Dana wasn't finished yet. Something in my gut told me this story with Dana wasn't finished yet. Silence from someone like her was rarely peace, it was usually planning. The week after Ryan's quiet visit passed calmly at first. I gardened, read novels, took long walks. For the first time in a decade, my life felt like it belonged to me. But there was always a small uneasiness in the back of my mind, a whisper, she's not done. On Thursday, the whisper proved right. I was sipping coffee on the patio when an email pinged my phone. The subject line made my stomach tighten. Family concerns, mediation suggested. It was from a lawyer I didn't know. The message was polite but cold. Mrs. Whitlock, I represent your son and daughter-in-law, Ryan and Dana Whitlock. They have expressed concern regarding your recent financial decisions and emotional well-being. They wish to request a family mediation to avoid escalation to legal guardianship proceedings. Guardianship. There it was. They were still trying to take control of my money. For a moment, old fear crept back, that deep childhood fear of losing control, of being labeled incapable. But then I looked at the folder on my desk, my psychological evaluation, bank security documents, legal updates from Mr. Coleman. I was ready. I forwarded the email to Mr. Coleman with a short note. They're moving forward. Please advise. Within an hour, he called. Georgia, don't panic, he said. This is a bluff. They're testing if you'll fold. We'll respond formally with your medical proof of competence and my statement that your financial choices are rational and lawful. You're protected. Relief flooded me, but anger followed close behind. Dana was trying to scare me into giving back access. She was clever, but she didn't know how prepared I was now. Respond politely but firmly, I told Mr. Coleman. No mediation. No guardianship. My finances are my own. Consider it done, he said, with a hint of admiration. That afternoon, Lucy stopped by. I showed her the email. She let out a low whistle. They really don't quit, do they? No, I said with a sigh. But this time, I'm ready. Lucy smiled. You know, Georgia, this isn't just about protecting your money. It's about breaking a cycle. You're teaching them, maybe for the first time, that manipulation doesn't work. Her words made me pause. She was right. This wasn't just me versus them. It was a lesson that might finally force Ryan to grow up. The next few days were quiet. I filled them with things I'd forgotten I loved. Baking, tending my roses, calling old friends I'd neglected because I was always busy bailing Ryan out. I started a small journal, writing about my journey, not just the anger and pain, but the slow rediscovery of myself. Then, on Saturday evening, the phone rang. It was Ryan. "Mom," he said, sounding awkward. "Dana and we know about the lawyer. We didn't mean to scare you. That was her idea." I stayed silent. "She's scared," he continued. "We're struggling to adjust. She thought maybe if we showed we were serious, you'd reconsider." "By threatening me with legal action?" I asked quietly. He winced audibly. "I told her it was wrong, but she's desperate, Mom. Change is hard for her." "Change is hard for everyone," I said firmly. "But scaring someone into giving up control is not the way to handle fear." "I know," Ryan said softly. I told her that. "Ryan," I said after a long pause, "if Dana wants to build a new relationship with me, it starts with respect, not threats." "I'll tell her," he murmured. And, "Mom, thank you for standing your ground. As angry as I was at first, I think I needed this wake-up call." Something in my chest loosened. Maybe, just maybe, he was learning. The next morning, I received another email, this time from Dana herself. "Georgia, I'm sorry. I overreacted. I felt scared and insecure. I thought we might lose our safety net and panicked. But Ryan told me how you feel, and I understand now. We're going to try to live within our means. I hope someday we can rebuild trust." It wasn't perfect, but it was something. I replied simply, "Dana, I accept your apology. Trust will take time and action. I hope you and Ryan succeed in your independence." For the first time since this war began, I felt a quiet truce forming. Sunday came. Ryan and Dana arrived with bags of groceries, their groceries, bought with their money. Dana looked nervous but polite. Ryan hugged me, tentative but sincere. They cooked a simple lunch: roasted chicken, salad, apple pie. The house smelled warm and alive. We sat at the table like a family again, but this time different. Equal. Dana cleared her throat halfway through the meal. "Georgia, thank you for inviting us. I know we've hurt you. I'm sorry." Ryan nodded. "Me too, Mom." I took a slow sip of water and met their eyes. "I accept your apologies, but understand, things have changed. I love you both. I want you in my life. But I will never be your bank again." Ryan nodded firmly. "We get it." Dana looked down, a mix of shame and relief on her face. "We're learning. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the past, but it was a beginning." Later that night, after they'd gone, I sat alone in my living room. The quiet felt different now, not lonely, but peaceful. I thought about the journey from that humiliating coffee service to this day, about the boundaries I built brick by brick. And yet, a whisper of caution lingered. Dana's apology felt real, but I knew her pattern. Sweetness when manipulation failed. Would she stay genuine this time? Or was this another performance until she found a new angle? I couldn't know, but I was stronger now, and I had legal armor, financial protection, and a spine I hadn't used in years. For the first time, I felt ready for whatever came next. The following week brought more small but powerful changes. I took myself shopping and bought a beautiful coat, not the cheapest one, but the one I really wanted. I enrolled in a painting class at the community center. I started walking with Lucy every morning. Each little act was like reclaiming a piece of me. I also updated my will officially with the new tiered plan Mr. Coleman and I had discussed. Ryan's inheritance would now grow only if he maintained financial independence for years. If he fell back into old habits, most of my estate would go to charity and to Elaine. It was firm but fair, and it finally gave me peace. Then one quiet Wednesday, something happened I didn't expect. Dana came by alone. She looked different. Casual clothes, no makeup, hair in a simple ponytail. She carried a homemade pie. "May I come in?" she asked softly. I hesitated, then nodded. She sat at my kitchen table, eyes lowered. "Georgia, I wanted to talk without Ryan." I waited. "I've been thinking a lot," she said quietly, "about money, about family, about how I've treated you. I was raised to believe parents should provide forever. My mom, she always bailed me out. I thought that was normal. But now, I see how unfair it is. I was surprised by her honesty. I'm scared, she admitted. I've never really managed a life we could afford. I built an image instead. The clothes, the restaurants, the trips. I thought it made us successful, but it was fake, and I hurt you to keep the illusion alive. Tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness overnight. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to change. Something in me softened slightly. This wasn't manipulation, or if it was very convincing. This sounded like someone facing her own reflection for the first time. Change is hard, I said gently, but it's possible. She nodded, wiping tears. Thank you for not giving up on Ryan, or on me. I didn't answer right away. I was still cautious, but a small seed of hope took root. Over the next month, Ryan and Dana slowly began proving their words. They moved into the cheaper apartment as promised. They sold Dana's designer handbags online for extra cash. Ryan took on freelance work on top of his job. Dana worked weekends and started meal planning instead of expensive takeout. They still came for Sunday lunch, but this time they brought groceries and cooked. Sometimes they invited me to their new apartment, humble but cozy. There were no hidden hands reaching for my wallet, no sly jokes about the Bank of Mom. I started to believe this change might be real. One afternoon, as Ryan and I sat on my porch sipping lemonade, he said something that caught me off guard. Mom, you know what's crazy? I think I respect myself for the first time in my life. I turned to look at him. When I depended on you, I felt like a man, but deep down, I knew I wasn't. Now, paying our bills, making choices, even struggling, it's hard, but it feels right. Tears pricked my eyes, but I kept my voice steady. I'm proud of you, Ryan. He smiled softly. Thank you. And Mom, thank you for saying no, even though it hurt. Still, the past had taught me not to relax completely. Dana was still quiet, still careful around me. Maybe she was changing, maybe she was planning. I couldn't tell. Then one Friday evening, as I was cooking dinner, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Dana, alone again, but this time dressed sharply, makeup perfect, that polished air I knew so well. A small chill ran down my spine. When I opened the door, she smiled, warm, but just a little too practiced. Georgia, she said sweetly, we need to talk. I have an idea. Something in her tone made me straighten my shoulders. This wasn't an apology visit. This was strategy. And I could tell, even before she spoke, that whatever she was about to propose might test every boundary I had built. Something in her tone made me straighten my shoulders. This wasn't an apology visit. This was strategy. I stepped aside slowly, letting Dana and Deanna. She walked to the kitchen table with careful grace, like someone preparing a performance. She set her designer bag down gently and smiled at me. Georgia, she said in a soft, practiced voice, I know things have been different lately. Ryan and we've changed a lot, and I want to talk about the future. I stayed standing for a moment before sitting across from her. Go on. She clasped her hands and leaned forward, eyes wide with sincerity, or what looked like sincerity. You've always been such a smart woman. You've built a life, a home, savings. Ryan and we're trying to be more responsible now. But I keep thinking, what's going to happen when you're older? I raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. You're alone, Georgia, she continued gently. You don't have anyone to take care of you if something happens. Ryan and I want to help. We want to make sure you're safe. What if we join finances again? Just a little. You could add us back on some of your accounts. Not like before, just so we can help pay bills, manage things if you're sick, you know? There it was. The new plan. Not begging for money. Not demanding cards. A polished, guilt-laced offer. Let us protect you. Which really meant let us back in. I took a slow breath and studied her. Dana, why do you really want access again? Her eyes flickered just for a second. Then she forced another soft smile. Because we care. Because family takes care of family. I leaned back, calm and steady. Family takes care of each other. But what you're asking isn't care, it's control. Her smile faltered. No, Georgia, it's not like that. It's exactly like that, I said gently but firmly. You're afraid of living within your means, afraid of losing the safety net. So now you're trying to wrap it in concern for me. Her cheeks flushed red. That's not fair. We've changed. Yes, you started to change, I said, and I'm proud of the effort. But real change takes time. Trust takes time. And right now, letting you back into my finances would undo everything we've built. Dana opened her mouth, then closed it. She wasn't used to me speaking so clearly, without guilt. I leaned forward slightly. Dana, I appreciate that you want to feel safe. I appreciate that you're scared. But the way forward isn't to get back what you lost. It's to keep proving you can live independently. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she sat back and exhaled, the polished mask slipping for a second. You're different now. I am, I said softly. And that's a good thing. She stared at the table for a long moment, then looked up. Okay, I get it. We'll keep trying. For the first time, I believed she might actually mean it. After she left, I sat at the table for a long time, letting the quiet fill the house. My heart was beating fast, but I wasn't afraid. I'd face her newest strategy and stayed strong. A few months ago, I would have caved. Today, I didn't even flinch. And in that moment, I realized something important. I wasn't just protecting my money anymore. I was protecting me, my self-respect, my peace, my right to live the rest of my life free. Over the next several weeks, life settled into a healthier rhythm. Ryan and Dana kept living on their own means. They updated me on their budget, proudly telling me when they paid bills early or saved a little extra. Dana worked her weekend job without complaint. Ryan started doing small handyman projects around their apartment instead of paying for services. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And slowly, their pride grew. They kept coming on Sundays, cooking, cleaning up afterward, laughing in my kitchen without a single hint of expectation. Sometimes we even talked about money openly now, not as a demand, but as advice. Ryan would ask, Mom, how did you budget when Dad was alive? And I'd share simple tips. It felt like a real family for the first time in years. One evening, Ryan called just to chat. Not to ask for anything, just to talk. It caught me so off guard, I almost cried after we hung up. That simple, normal call was the relationship I had longed for. Dana also softened. She still liked nice things that would probably never change, but she started bragging about finding deals at thrift shops or cooking at home instead of fancy brunches. She even brought me a small bouquet one Sunday with a shy smile. I just wanted to say thanks, she said. It wasn't about money. It was about love. Meanwhile, I kept investing in myself. I finished my painting class and hung my first canvas in the living room. Lucy and I planned another trip, a long weekend in the mountains. I even joined a local book club. For so many years, I had lived only as someone's mother, someone's provider. Now I was living as me. But the final test came quietly one afternoon. I was sitting in my study when my phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. Mom, just wanted you to know, we had an emergency today. Car broke down. The repair cost $900. We paid it from our own savings. First time we didn't have to call anyone. Felt good. I stared at the message for a long time, tears welling in my eyes. They had an emergency and solved it themselves. The cycle had finally broken. I replied simply, I'm proud of you. Truly proud. Weeks turned into months. My life became peaceful, stable, happy. The legal threat never returned, probably because Mr. Coleman's firm response and my psychological report had closed that door forever. Ryan and Dana slowly rebuilt trust, one responsible choice at a time. It wasn't perfect, no family is, but it was real. And for the first time, our love was separate from money. One sunny afternoon, as we all sat in my backyard eating pie and laughing about old memories, Ryan looked at me and said something that made every hard decision worth it. Mom, he said softly, thank you for saving us. Not with money, with courage. We hated you at first. But if you hadn't stopped us, we would still be living fake lives. Now we're growing up because you finally said no. Dana nodded, eyes glassy. You taught us the hardest lesson of all, that love isn't giving until you're empty. It's teaching people to stand on their own. I swallowed hard, overwhelmed. That's all I ever wanted for you, to stand. That night, after they left, I sat alone under the stars with a quiet heart. It had taken humiliation, anger, and painful boundaries. It had taken standing alone in the face of threats and manipulation. It had taken courage I didn't know I had. But I had reclaimed my life. I had saved not just my finances, but my dignity. And maybe, just maybe, I had saved my son and daughter-in-law too. What about you? Have you ever had to set hard boundaries with someone you love, maybe even your own children? How did it feel? Did they change? Or did you have to walk away? I'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments. If this story touched you or made you think, give this video a thumbs up. And if you want more powerful life stories like this, full of lessons, emotions, and hope, subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell so you never miss one. Your support means the world to me. Big hugs, and I'll see you in the next story.